Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for some more Star Wars Battlefront II news. Today we actually got some weekend information on the upcoming Geonosis patch, which is a little unusual as generally there's not a lot of communication on Saturdays and Sundays for obvious reasons, but for whatever reason today was a little bit different. We have some details on some more fixes, future content, and a whole lot more. Also, I just wanted to note that today marks the 1-year anniversary of the launch of Battlefront II, and while I did not prepare a sappy video, it is undeniably pretty dang crazy to think of just how much this game has changed in the past year, and here's to an even better second year. But with all of that being said, let's get into this. So first up, we need to talk about the officer class, as the more Ben replies to people over on Twitter and Reddit, the more this upcoming patch is seeming to be the absolute death of the officer class as we now know it. Just a few days ago, Ben confirmed that the flash grenade would be getting a nerf with the next update, which no one can argue isn't completely warranted, but today there was a whole big thread over on Twitter just discussing how quickly officers can rack up battle points compared to the other classes. Between their battle command and officer's presence, you really don't have to do anything or have any skill to get a hero, and it particularly shows this weekend during the Heroes Unleashed event, as you can literally just get a hero from boosting your teammates at spawn if someone hits you with a recharge command, which they almost always do, and you do it a second time. You literally don't have to fire a single shot or damage a single enemy, and you can still get a hero in seconds. Well, Ben replied to that thread and more or less confirmed that the officer would be seeing some changes in regard to their battle point earn rate as well with the Geonosis update. He didn't specify what exactly they'll be nerfing, but I have a feeling that the officer's present star card is going to become a star card no one uses after this next update. It's been alluded to many times in the past that DICE will just remove the passive battle point gain altogether, and at this point I would not be surprised to see that happen. I don't necessarily think that's what they should do, as if they do that no one will ever use officer's presence again, because players generally only care about themselves in a game like this, but to be fair, about 60% of the star cards in Battlefront 2 never get any use, as there are very clear choices for most classes. 90% of people are using the same star cards. There's maybe 10% that mess around a bit, but there are still a lot of star cards that no one ever uses. Personally, I think the only way to truly balance the officer's class in terms of battle point gain is to drastically reduce the amount of points officer's presence gives you. Don't remove the battle point gain entirely, or like I said, no one will ever use it, but just give it a huge reduction, and battle command needs to be changed as well. You should not be able to get over 1,000 points just at the start of the match, so there needs to be some sort of delay when you spawn in at the start of a match where you are unable to earn battle points from using the ability for a short amount of time, because that alone instantly makes choosing any class other than the officer a huge detriment at the beginning of a match if you want to get that first hero before everyone else. I think if they did both of these things in tandem, in addition to making some changes to the flash grenade, the officer class would be on a pretty level playing field to the other classes. The assault class by far has the best killing potential even right now. The heavy class has some of the weaker weapons but has amazing abilities that allow you to rack up a lot of objective points, and the specialist class is the jack of all trades that only becomes a truly excellent class once you've mastered sniping, which is why specialists aren't really an issue outside of the melee class, because the majority of Battlefront 2 players can't aim whatsoever, and like I said yesterday, I'm pretty sure most of them don't have opposable thumbs. But I am very much looking forward to the officer seeing some balance changes, because I would really love to use other classes without feeling like I'm hindering my chances of getting the first hero. And before I get a bunch of these comments, yes, I realize it's entirely possible to get a hero with any other class. You aren't special if you do it. I do it all the time. If you're about to comment that, you're missing the point of the balance of the officer entirely. If an equally skilled officer and assault player go out and get the same exact amount of kills, the officer is going to gain nearly double the amount of battle points, which is not balanced whatsoever, as the officer has weapons and abilities that are just as strong and arguably stronger than the assault class. Moving on, Ben also let on that we should be able to expect some changes to saber combat, hopefully improvements, maybe not in the next update, but soon. Over on Reddit, people were discussing the 1-year anniversary of Battlefront II and what we can expect in 2019, and Ben again confirmed that they very much have plans for 2019 after what we already have confirmed, and then replied to someone requesting some rework saber combat with a smile, and I really hope they can make some big changes, because saber combat, as it is now, is not very enjoyable when both players are skilled. It's a very weird system because, in my opinion, the more skill involved between both players in a saber battle, battle, the less fun it is, because it's very easy to just block nearly infinitely, time an attack, maybe get 1 or 2 swings in, and then any competent player can just continue to block until they get their health back, and rinse and repeat until a big boy with a stun comes along to break the block. If you are a skilled player playing against terrible enemies, well, then yeah, it's pretty fun because you're able to take advantage of the way the system works, and to be fair, most players are pretty bad, so the saber combat isn't generally an issue if you're a good player, but I've just run into trouble in modes like Hero Showdown, where I know exactly what I'm doing and the enemy also knows what they're doing, and we just run the timer out because certain lightsaber heroes have no way of breaking a block, and everything about the system just promotes a very cowardly playstyle. I would love for them to implement a system that has a way bigger skill gap, with intricate ways to break blocks and keep a player from regenerating health, instead of the current system, which can be annoying at times. I'm not as big of a hater on the combat system as some people are, but I definitely agree there is major room for improvement, and there definitely needs to be better ways to break a block than a big boy throwing a shock grenade, as that definitely doesn't promote skilled gameplay whatsoever. Speaking of Chewbacca, we have been given some confirmation that his nerf will be in the next update. Ben had previously said that DICE was working on some changes to Chewie, but didn't specify when those would come. Luckily for those of us sick of how broken he is, those nerfs will be coming alongside Geonosis, and I really hope they think this balancing thing out with Chewie, because they need to balance him, not just nerf him in the ground like they've done in the past with other classes. He's definitely one of the weakest heroes in Galactic Assault, that kinda goes without saying, but at the same time he is by far the most broken hero in HVV to a level of absurdity. So I really hope they thought this through and found a way to make him a solid but not broken hero in HVV, and managed to make him a much more consistent hero in Galactic Assault, as right now, the only time I ever use him is if I just want to use my battle points before the end of the match and no one else is available, because his kit is pretty much made for hero killing, but for a hero, he's pretty underwhelming against troopers. Like I've said before, I think they should reduce his Furious Bowcaster damage against heroes, increase his regular Bowcaster damage a little bit so it doesn't feel so weak against troopers, shorten the shock length on his grenade, and buff his charge slam against troopers so it actually kills them in one shot, as it should, because right now it's just kind of a death sentence in Galactic Assault. That way he wouldn't be able to melt Vader in 3 shots, but also wouldn't be useless with his abilities on cooldown, and would be able to consistently regenerate health in Galactic Assault using his health on Charge Slam kill card, which as of right now is pretty crappy because using his Charge Slam doesn't actually one-hit kill anyone, and it makes you very vulnerable. I doubt DICE is listening to this, but if you are, I think that's the way to balance our favorite Wookiee. Next up, if you've been pretty annoyed with the broken hero selector in HVV, you are not alone. It's an extremely annoying bug that really should have been hotfixed right away, but we've kind of just been stuck with it for the last 2 weeks. Luckily, Ben confirmed that that will 100% be fixed with the Geonosis update, which is now less than 2 weeks away, so we won't have to deal with that for too much longer. I also wanted to briefly mention something that we discussed a few videos ago, and that is most heroes not really talking to each other anymore, and hero banter just being altogether broken. It's been broken for a very long time, leading all the way back to like July, and Ben had said the other day that it will be fixed, but unfortunately he did clarify today and just said it's on their list, so I wouldn't expect a fix for that anytime soon. I had taken his last comment as it would be fixed in the next update, but it looks like we have some waiting to do, unfortunately. It's really annoying because it means there are a ton of lines that we just never hear anymore, and with Grievous in-game and Obi-Wan on the way, it would be really nice to hear all the hero dialogue instead of just the odd comment that we hear nowadays. I'm hoping DICE takes the month of December, where no new content that we are aware of is dropping, and just spend some time dedicated to fixing bugs that should have been fixed months and months ago. Finally, for all of you Luke mains who are sick of Luke just not working ever since the last update, Ben has said they have it figured out, and he will soon be back to his former glory. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Luke's lightsaber currently doesn't work on the first swing, so he takes 3 swings to kill just a regular trooper, which honestly makes him hot garbage compared to Rey or Yoda, so if you didn't know that and thought you just started to suck at Luke after the last update, it's not your fault. He'll be back in action after a couple of weeks. I will say bugs like this one still kind of baffle me, as I don't really understand how they managed to break things like that. Luke didn't even get any balance changes with the last update. It just seems like every time there's a patch, there's always 10 completely unrelated things that go haywire, and we just have to deal with them for a month, which is why I really hope they get a better system in place for putting out hot fixes really quickly. But guys, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to drop this video a like, and if you are new around here, absolutely make sure you subscribe to the channel, as we would be honored if you would join us. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.